Hello and welcome. What's up, guys? Today I want to talk about 10 CompTIA exam trips and secrets that can help you to pass your exam. I get asked questions all the time with different methods and things that you can use in order to make sure that you're passing this exam. So first off, you may have worked in IT for a while and you may be used to hearing people say, oh, if you're just going to go take this exam, just do a brain dump. But brain dumps really don't help with the learning concepts. If you're taking a CompTIA exam, it is non-vendor specific and you need to make sure that you know the material really well. If you go through and just study a bunch of brain dumps and try to know the answer, it's not going to help you because you're going to get scenario questions when you go to the exam. And they know there's brain dumps out there. They are consistently changing questions on the exam. So if you only study a brain dump, you may go take an exam only to figure out that you can't pass because you don't know the material. Number 2, make or get a good study guide. If you use a program such as UCertify or Test Out or any program like that, oftentimes they have a pacing guide already in them. And if they don't have a pacing guide, then you can make one yourself. How many lessons do you plan on doing per week? How much time do you have to get this chapter completed? And you don't just want to just read through it really quickly. You got to make sure you take the time to understand the material. And if you're in school, make sure you contact your instructor so that if you have any questions or any understanding that you need to figure out, then your instructor can help you with that. I mean, sometimes we can Google things and we hear these glossary term definitions and it just kind of glazes over our eyes. And why? Well, that's because every time you get a glossary term definition, they use terminology to explain terminology. And we need to understand what the terminology actually means. Take practice exams. Number 3. Practice exams can be an indicator if you're ready or not. If you're still going through and you're missing a lot of questions, then there is something that you're missing in the understanding on that particular subject. Practice exams can help you pinpoint exactly what needs to be practiced before you go take the exam. By looking at the questions that you missed in the exam, you can pinpoint subjects or areas where you need to practice or you need to learn more because you might be missing some sort of small detail. Redo those areas that you missed on that practice exam and make sure you're not just memorizing, but you are clearly understanding the concepts, such as why one security method might be a better security method than another one, or why one wireless device might be a better wireless device than another one. If you're going over a subject and you just don't seem to be getting it, then mark that subject down on a piece of paper and come back to it after a couple of days. Sometimes when we do the same information over and over again, our brains are just not open to going back over that same information. And be sure to stay consistent. There is a lot of material on a lot of these different exams. I mean, you have your A+, where you have hardware, and then you have software. It's 2 separate exams because it's such a large exam. And then you have the Net Plus, which has a ton of information on it. You've got Security Plus, which is Net Plus plus security, so it's even more information, and your score goes higher. You've got to have a 720 to pass a Net Plus. You have to have a 750 to pass a Security Plus. There's Cloud Plus. There's all kinds of different certifications that you can get, and honestly, it's not really going to help you to memorize any of it, and you got to stay consistent, because if you're not consistent, you're going to forget previous material that you covered. Mix your studying with review. Go in and study, and review. What did you just read? Did you understand what it is that you just read? Not only does it give the brain a break because you're doing something a little bit different, but it also helps to clarify whether or not you're actually getting the material and understanding what you are reading, or whether it's labs, hands-on, whatever it is that you're doing. It helps you to make sure that you really understood the content that you just covered. Know what type of learner you are. I have seen so many students struggle with trying to learn, and oftentimes it's because they don't know what type of learner they are. And if you don't know what type of learner you are, how do you know what methods will help you to engage and learn and remember the material? So it is kind of important to understand what kind of learner you are. There are a lot of places online where you could answer some questions and it'll give you an idea what kind of a learner you are. And if you're like me and you take this and you figure out you're kind of the same across the board for, for hands-on, for reading, for everything, I'm kind of straight across the board on that. A little bit of kinesthetic, a little bit. So what I do when I'm engaging myself is I do all of it. I do the reading, then I go back and I do hands-on, and I listen to videos to make sure I'm getting the visual, the audio, and the hands-on in order to really, really understand the concept. If you're an auditory and a music learner, this is one of the more difficult learning types, especially when it comes to just reading material and doing labs and things like that, because most learners are either kinesthetic, they're auditory, or they're visual, or they're a combination of those three, where if you could be an auditory but then also a music learner, then that is definitely going to change the way you're going to engage so that you can remember the material better. So how do you know if you're a good auditory or a music learner? Well, do you have a good ear for music? Are you distracted easily? Do you often talk to yourself or hum or sing? I am so guilty of that. I don't want to sing for you because I want you to stay tuned, right? I'm still guilty of that though. I am still very guilty of that. I love music. I listen to music, all kinds of music. I definitely get distracted easily. If I have anyone else in the house and they come up and they interrupt me, I'm like all over the place, and I have to come back and try to figure out where in the world was I. And I hum and sing, like I said, I hum and I sing all the time. But good ear for music, I'm not really sure if I have a good ear for music, because yes, I like music, but I can't sing on tune. So I don't know how good my ears really are. But I guess they're okay as far as what I'm hearing. I know when I like music, I can definitely play instruments and I can dance to the beat and I can do those kinds of things. So in some sense, I do slightly fit under an auditory and music learner as well. So how do you engage? Well, you could listen to recorded lessons for listening, for reference. You could teach yourself verbally. And it's important that you avoid distraction. Now, does that mean you have to isolate yourself in an office where it's very quiet? Possibly. But if you don't have that option, you could put in earbuds and listen to music. I mean, you are a music learner. You could put earbuds in and listen to music while you study, and you may find that it's actually doesn't distract you to hear that music in the background while you are thinking. So those are some things that you can do to engage. One of the things that I like to do is if I'm listening to a recorded lesson, here's the thing, I'm also not always, I can either hyper focus or my focus goes all over the place. So that's another thing that I have. So recorded lessons are great. I love listening to recorded lessons. However, I watch the transcript at the same time. So I teach myself verbally at the same time that I'm watching a transcript. And that just might be helpful for, if you use LinkedIn Learning, they have transcripts. If you use any of those types, INE is a good one. If you have any of those types, you could probably either get closed capture or you can get some sort of transcript, and then you can read it at the same time that you're listening, and then that might be really helpful to keep your focus. Visual or spatial learner. Well, how do you know if you're a visual or spatial learner? I mean, what does that mean? Well, are you the type of person that likes to draw all the time? I've known lots of people, there's always one in a class, right, that they will sit there and draw. And not only do they draw, but you can tell they're very observant because they always put in these little details in their drawings, okay? They're not easily distracted. The entire classroom could be running around, throwing spitballs or whatever, and that person will just sit there and just doodle away and not even worry, right? They also enjoy planning and they prefer visual instructions. So if you're that type of learner, how you would engage would be use color codes and cues and then create notes and then copy them when you're studying. So that takes a lot of time, that's a lot of writing, but creating those notes will help it to stay in your brain so that you're not forgetting it. What about a verbal learner? If you're a verbal learner, then oftentimes verbal learners are quite smart. They're very intellectual. They like to read a lot and they love to tell stories. This tells me that I'm really not much of a verbal learner because I think I'm smart, but I don't read a lot. I don't tell a lot of stories. I research a lot. I'm always in a book somewhere, but I don't just read for pleasure or anything like that. So how would a verbal learner engage? Well, again, writing notes is huge because if you're writing notes, then you are reiterating it and setting it into your brain, okay? Here's the thing, if you're watching videos, you can always pause to write your notes. Because there is one negative on writing notes, and that is that your brain can't do two things at a time. You can listen or you can write. You may think that you can listen while you're writing, but again, we never really multitask. Our brains do one task at a time. We're just simply switching tasks. So using videos can be very helpful for this because you can pause and then you can write things down. You want to discuss these concepts with yourself, or you could teach someone else, and that will help you tap in to see if you're actually understanding the material that you are covering. Logical, mathematical learners, they can tell when they are good learners because guess what? There's pattern recognition, they are good with numbers, and they have a predisposition towards grouping and classifications. They like that organization. So how do you engage for a logical mathematical learner? You want to learn through statistics and classification. Okay, I can group all of these subjects together. I can group all of these subjects together. And yeah, that would actually work if you're learning in IT because you can group together everything on the wireless. You can group together each subject and be able to clarify relationships between those subjects. And here's the big one here. Be able to explain the concepts, because once you can explain the concepts, then you're fully understanding those concepts. A physical or kinesthetic learner, they prefer to get their hands dirty. I love getting my hands involved and just getting in there and just doing it. They're energetic, they may drum fingers, they may shake their legs. They're action-oriented and outgoing, and they may deprioritize reading and writing. Hello, that is me all day long. So how would I or any other person that has a physical or kinesthetic learner ability engage in the material? Believe it or not, if you're a very active person, you're energetic, you shake and you wiggle, you just gotta get up and walk around sometimes. And I kid you not, I've made flashcards there and walked in circles while I'm studying even. So you could do something like that as well. It's also important to keep a clutter-free environment, because somebody that's active typically likes to have a clean home. And when there's something dirty, they're like, oh, I have to get up and go clean it. So then that's kind of like an interruption from your study environment. And it makes it harder to focus on your study because you want to get up and clean, or you want to get up and do something. You're always wanting to get up and do something, okay? So make yourself study, but make sure you get up, you take those breaks, you walk around. There are online break reminders that you could use. So the key is, do not force yourself to study for more than 2 hours without taking a break, because once you've filled up your short-term memory and there's no room left, you're just not going to retain all of that anyways, no matter what kind of learner you are. So make sure that you get up, you walk around, you take breaks, and then get back to it. A social or interpersonal learner is often extroverted. They communicate quite well, and they are also very sensitive and empathetic. And this kind of fits me too. So, and the reason why I keep saying this fits me, this fits me, this fits me, is because I want you to realize you can be more than one learning type, and you can use all of the engagements listed in all the different learning types. So this is something else I could do, though honestly, I hate role playing. That could be one area that helps, because that's like getting your hands dirty as well. So role playing is one way that you can engage someone to learn. Collaboration. Listen, I am the type of person, I can work independently or I can work in a group. And no matter how smart you are, collaboration is a fantastic thing to have, because someone may think of something that you're not thinking of, or they might say something that really turns the light bulb on for you. You're like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. Okay, now I get it, right? Another way that you can gauge is comprehensive questions. Questions that really dig deep to make sure that you are understanding the material that you are learning. And there's lots of study bodies out there for certifications that can give you comprehensive questions. A solitary and interpersonal learner, which is not really what I am at all. I am independent, but introspective. Okay, I'm an analyzer, but that's as close as we're going to get on that. And also, solitary and interpersonal learners are more private. They keep to themselves. I am quite loudmouthed. I never keep to myself on much of anything. So everybody is different, and that's one reason why we have to learn about what type of learner we are. So if you are this type of learner, how you would engage is research. Oh, I love research. That's part of my independence on my learning. I love research because you can learn so much by researching. There's so much information out there. Google is my best friend, just saying. You can engage by writing. So you can write about what you've learned, okay? Oftentimes, these type of people are programmers or coders. All right, so I've done some programming, and I can tell you that almost everyone that I know that works as a programmer all the time, they often are very independent, introspective, and very private. I also run across programmers that are visual learners, and they need to see that visual. So one negative of programming courses are that they give you a little bit of here, this is how this works, or here, this is how that works. And then they give you an assignment with stuff in it that you didn't cover that week. And you're like, what? This isn't helping me understand what's going on. So research is incredibly important. Being able to use maybe online study bodies and things like that. Practice getting your hands in for programmers. That's super, super important. But if you're a solitary and interpersonal learner, again, research, writing, and write out what it is that you're trying to do, like your program or your code, so that you can help, again, with your memory. Number 7, skip strange exam questions. If you come across an exam question that you do not understand for the life of you, don't answer it. Flag it until the end. CompTIA exam questions are adaptable. I've heard some people say, oh, they claim they're not. No, no, no. They are adaptable. And this is coming from someone who was an administrator of Pearson VUE computers, okay? So the CompTIA exams and whatnot. So I'm telling you that absolutely you must flag something if you don't understand it, because if you answer it and you get it incorrect, you may get 3 or 4 more questions based on the same subject, because, you know, it forces your score down. If you get this one wrong, you're probably likely to get 3 or 4 more questions wrong if we ask you the same stuff. So if you don't know the answer, flag it, okay? And do not flag all the PBQs. And what do I mean when I say PBQs? So a PBQ is a performance-based question. Oftentimes they're drag and drop, and they can be quite confusing sometimes, because you get a story problem, and on top of the story problem you get something where you can drag and you can drop, and you got to pay really close attention to make sure that you're putting the right things in the right areas. So these kinds of questions take a little bit more time than your standard multiple choice questions. Even though those are scenario, at least you get just a multiple choice. The PBQs, you could have, 10 or 15 things that you need to drag in, and it may take more time. So if you flag all of those PBQs, here's the thing, because the exam is adaptive and will adjust, you might get more PBQs, and then you're going to run out of time towards the end. And I have heard people advise students all the time, oh, flag all the PBQs and save to the end. No, please do not do that, okay? Because if the exam picks it up that you're avoiding all the PBQs, you're going to get more and run out of time. And then you can't pass because you didn't get all the questions answered. 90 questions, 90 minutes for most exams in general. Be prepared for those PBQs. A site that I found that can be really helpful is called passcomptia.com. You can practice. They have the simulation questions. Something that I do is I use my snipping tool, and I will cut because they just give you pictures for the simulation questions. So I will cut it and then use the drawing tools on my snipping tool to write in there what it is that I'm dragging over to each area, whatever, and then I go and check the answer to make sure that I have a clear understanding of that question and why. And you may find sometimes that you just have to slow down and read the question better, or you might have to go over the question again just to make sure that you have this clear understanding. Pay attention to multiple choice tricks. It's incredibly important. So say if you got a question such as a technician is downloading an ISO from a vendor's website. To ensure the integrity of the download, which of the following should be verified? Honestly, this is probably pretty simple compared to the questions you're going to get on the CompTIA exam. But if you look at it, you could still see how that question might be a little confusing. I have brought this question up in front of students many, many times, and oftentimes they'll answer vendor URL. Well, first of all, we need to make sure we eliminate known or incorrect answers. The vendor URL should be eliminated because if you look at the question, we're already at the vendor's website. We're downloading the ISO from that website. That means we're already on their website. So the vendor URL, bad answer. Move that out of the way. Eliminate that. Okay. Now, we look at the question again, and we want to ensure integrity of the download. Well, we can eliminate file size because file size has nothing to do with the integrity of your download necessarily. It's not completely true. If you're learning IT, you would think, okay, well, maybe it does, because if they have a virus attached to it, then that can be an overflow of file size compared to the size that it is on the computer. But think about this. We're ensuring the integrity of the download. That simply means that we're going to make sure all the files and everything in the download are intact. So file size has nothing to do with the action that we are doing. And in that case, we can remove file size. That's not the answer. Okay? So now we're down to file hashing and encryption. So we want to ensure the integrity of the download. So what is encryption? Encryption is actually scrambling the data so that no one can get into it. So don't confuse it with, oh, we're keeping this with integrity because no one can touch it. Encryption, what does it do? So we want to, again, looking at the question, to ensure the integrity of a download. So we're not going to encrypt that download, because what we would be doing is, if we're sending something, we would encrypt it before we send it. So that, again, needs to be eliminated. That's not the correct answer. Which leaves file hashing. Hashing in general, whether it's a file you're hashing or whatever it is you're hashing, hashing ensures integrity. Period. So that is why file hashing is a better answer than encryption. They're going to try to trick you with these questions. That is a given. You know, it costs $300 for an exam in general. So if you don't pass and you have to take this exam again, well, that's another $300 in their pocket, right? It's also their job to make sure that you understand the material. Because if you take this certification exam and you pass it, that's saying, hey, I know what I'm doing, right? And they don't want to make the exam easy. Because if they made it too easy, then we would have professionals that wouldn't know exactly what they're doing. Now, those of you that are professionals, if you're watching this, you're going to say, oh, but these exams don't test me, because it's not like this in the real world. I agree with you 100%. But if you remember that it's as close to real world as possible, because we're taking a concept and which is the best answer for the concept, then you want to just remember to keep it simple. Make sure you know what answer they are looking for, and make sure that you're studying for that exam properly. The reason it's not the same as it is in the real world is because oftentimes we really don't know all this stuff off the top of our head, or it changes. And so when we are working in the field, we Google everything, or we look at documentation somewhere, right? So that's what makes it different when you're working in the field. You still need to be able to study, and you still need to be able to take the exam to show your worth. And last but not least, and certainly probably the most important, make sure you treat yourself really well. Get plenty of rest. Plan the exam for a time of day when you're most alert, and don't go hungry. And I've run across that in students so many times. I have advised students on how to pass these exams for years. And I had a student that, when I talked to him on the phone, he knows his stuff. So why is he continuing to fail this exam over and over and over? Come to find out, he was planning to take his exams early in the morning because he worked a later shift in the day, and that way he wouldn't have to take off work if he took the exam in the morning. I asked him, I said, "Are you awake in the morning?" "Oh, no, I'm not awake." Well, that's going to be a problem because if you're not awake, your brain's not going to function the way you need it to. The exam is hard, okay? And you need to be able to filter through story problems in order to give the best answer. And sometimes the answer could be either one, and you have to remember all the details so you know which is the best answer. And you have to pay attention to the question so you know what they're looking for. So please do not take any certification exam when you are not awake, or when you are hungry, or when you have anything that is going to distract you from passing that exam. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope it's helpful for you if you are struggling with exams and passing them. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and we'll see you next time.